Hi.
Hello.
Once again, live.
Yeah.
Live. And also, look, friends, we've got a fourth. No, that's not what.
Oh, yeah, let's see where we
way
all...
I'm here.
Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah. You're facing in the right direction.
Well done. Lauren is braving us. She is a woman of extraordinary courage.
It's true.
She knows you though, so we're there. We're sorted.
Yes, Lauren has spent time with me in break rooms and various other places. So, in a way, she definitely knows what she signed up for because she's met me at my most foul.
Cat most foul.
And we are absolutely over the moon because she's going to be talking to us about her new book, which is on Margaret Beaufort, which it's just arrived to Philippa. Look at that cover.
It's a very, very, very pretty cover.
Yeah.
Right word.
I like it a lot.
It's a stunning
Good
cover.
work,
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done, Head of Zeus.
And it will look very good on the shelf as well.
Yeah. Delish. Before we start grilling Lauren about Margaret, I think it's only fair for her, for all of you, for us legally, that we do the disclaimer. Welcome, friends, to History After Dark. It's just gone 8:15. We called it this for a number of reasons, but this is a place where we come to let our freak flags fly. We will indulge in our love of four-letter expletives. We might do a bit of, innuendo, some filth, some vulgarity, some smut, if you will. We also may well, considering the topic, get angry about the treatment and plight of young women in late medieval England. And I think we are going to figure out why pretty quickly. With that being said, if you are in an open plan office with a judgmental boss, put a headphone in. If you are in a kitchen, a Lamborghini, a helicopter, a submarine,
A Lamborghini helicopter.
a Lamborghini, they must make them.
They make tractors.
Or maybe even a submarine that you have fashioned yourself in your own shed, which you are using a Sega Mega Drive controller to use. Don't visit the Titanic.
Don't do that.
If you are there with a small child who is a problem, we call this child Timmy. Get your mugs out, ladies. Get your mugs out.
Sorry?
Timmy is a problem. Timmy is the sort of child that hears one depraved thing one time, very like my own children, and then takes it into school with him, locks it away, takes it in, repeats it in front of his teacher. In my head is Miss Honey. Now, Miss Honey, God bless her, pure as the driven. She doesn't watch this just inveterate filth, obviously. So she doesn't know the first cardinal rule of History After Dark, which is if you don't know what it means, it's not for you. Don't Google it. That's fine. But she's Googled it. Yeah, she's Googled it. She's in the corner, rocking back and forth, non-verbal. She's in a tiny fetal position. No one needs that in a reception-aged teacher. So put a headphone in. Otherwise, you're going to be called at the school. You've got to explain why Timmy knows this thing. And you're now on the hook for however many weeks of therapy it gets to get her upright and verbal again. No one needs it. With this in mind, it's very clear, I think, what might happen in this episode. At no point do I want any of you little minxes coming into our comments, either here or on our own social media, and saying anything along the lines of, I do enjoy History After Dark, but must you ladies swear so much? It's most indecorous. First of all, yes, I must swear this much. It is a medical requirement. It is, in fact, doctor's orders, so deal with it. Also, we're not going to pin the comment so that people can come into the comments and then humiliate you publicly, because we know that's what you want, because that's your kink. Now, I won't kink shame you. They might, but I won't. But what I am going to shame you for is kink without consent. Now then, if you want to go and see our dear friend Tiffany and various other helpers like Leona, they've had a night off tonight, but they'll be back in their Brighton basements later, and they will do all manner of things to you with a arse gnome, a car battery, a kumquat. As long as it's got a flared base, there are some excellent Christmas decorations coming out. You can pay your money and you can take your choice. But that is kink with consent. This, good God, is, I hope, only being listened to by adults after what I have just said. This, though, will never be a drinking game. It will not be medical nor legal advice. Please do not sue. Thank you so much for staying, Lauren.
I nearly got taken out by kumquat. I did not realise had a full stop in the middle of it.
It does now. There we go. So, Margaret, after all that, I think I want to kick off by asking, when did Margaret come onto your radar, and what drew you to her?
The excellent Margaret Beaufort. Incidentally, I'm sorry for having quite so many words underneath. I didn't know what to write.
Keep going.
I even deleted them. It reached the character limit. But I was like, I've got to plug the book. Margaret came onto my horizon when, this is my memory anyway, and who knows, maybe it's completely false, as all memory is. But my memory is I was doing Wars of the Roses at A level. It was all men, you know, sausage fest, swords, battles, blah, blah, blah. And then when I was doing some wider reading, because I'd got weirdly obsessed with Henry VII, I can't remember why, and I found his mother. I found his mother was 13 when she gave birth to him, that when she gave birth for the only time in her life, her husband was already dead, that she was in the depths of Wales, a country she didn't know personally at all, where obviously a different language is spoken. There was a plague raging. Her son then went and lived with essentially the man responsible for her husband's death, like for the next 14 years of his life, pretty much. And I was like, how has this woman never been mentioned to me? And that was even before I got into like, oh, and she's the reason the Tudors exist. And she's the reason that the Wars of the Roses ends the way it does. This was literally just, I am 16. I cannot imagine being 13 and having this circumstance. So it's a story I've literally wanted to write since then. And when I was asked after my last book about poor old Henry VI, what I wanted to do, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to write about Margaret Beaufort. I want to settle some scores that I have.
Might we ask what some of those scores are?
Oh, it's pretty. I mean, what would you guess immediately? Go on.
I mean, I'm going to go with the notion put forward by certain authors of fiction and non-fiction that at some point Margaret Beaufort scaled the Tower of London with a knife in her knickers to come and kill two princes. That's going to be accusation numero uno.
Hang on. We can't level that one anymore, though, because if we roll that one out, that means that we have to accept that the evidence put forward by Philippa Langley in her recent book can't be true, because apparently she has proved the princes in the tower were not killed at all, let alone by Richard.
They're probably still alive now, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. They were actually given an eternal life potion by their loving uncle, and they are going to this day. But Margaret Beaufort knew that, and she kept him a prisoner.
Yes, she did actually. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Margaret Beaufort made them. They are now both actually the men in the Iron Mask, while also working at PC World. So other shops are available. This is what's happened. Yeah, I mean, she does get a bad rap in lots of media and chat, and I wonder why you think she gets such a bad rap.
I have a feeling because it didn't used to be this. Like when I was doing my studies at university or my masters or whatever, I was looking at medieval women from this era, and no one knew who they were. I would mention Margaret Beaufort, and everyone would be like, "Huh?" And people still are slightly, obviously. You know, we've all got busy lives. But if people have heard of her, it is almost always that iteration of her. It's almost always that superstitious, weird, obsessed with her son, scheming to get him on the crown, evil, almost witch-like woman. And that is very firmly like a creation of fiction. And it makes sense in fiction in the same way that Richard III makes sense in Shakespearean fiction, because you go, oh, well, here's an interesting story. Let's spin it. There's a good tale. But it in the same way that I think people get very defensive about Richard III, it is quite right to get quite defensive about Margaret Beaufort too, because there isn't really any fact at the heart of this. So I think it is almost always that people are wanting to create a more positive story of Richard III. And in order to do that, they have looked for a scapegoat. They very conveniently found a powerful woman, I mean catnip, and that's the person you attack.
Yeah, it feeds into that. Sorry, let me just say thank you to Shano for
thank you,
Shano.
Appreciate it.
It leads into the narrative that kind of irritates me a bit, just because I can't see how it can be true, but I want you to talk to it, which is that she had from the very beginning these ideas that she was going to get her son on the throne, like as if that's what everyone wants, and it was clear that that's what she was after, which just speak to that a bit, because it just seems bizarre to me.
It is nonsense, really, because
that was polite. You can swear.
We have probably sworn quite a lot over this exact conversation in the past. So feel free.
Thank you. Always nice to have permission to. Imagine. So the circumstances I've already said. You're 13. You don't have a husband. You don't have a protector. You're away from your family. You have a baby in extremely traumatic circumstances. Your first thought is not going to be, this could be a king. I mean, even at a time when there had literally just been a king who was a baby in Henry VI, to be fair, there was precedent for king babies, but that's not what she would have been thinking. And even if she had been that completely, what is the word? I mean, insanely ambitious, really. There were so many people around at the time who were much higher in the line of precedent than her son was. And that was the case for years and years and years, even before the Yorkists take the throne. And then they've got 1 million brothers and 5,000 children. And, an entire rival line of succession is set up with them. So what Margaret was concerned with, which is the same thing that almost all 15th century noble people, not just women, people were concerned with, was she wanted to pass on her wealth to her child. And she wanted to ensure that that child had power and authority of their own. And she was in a very unusual position because of being a widow. Her son became a ward of the king, so he belonged to the king. And that meant she didn't have power over him. And also, because of the Wars of the Roses, because of what was going on at the time, her son's estates were basically taken away from him and parceled out to other powerful people. So what Margaret wanted was just to try and get back what her son had lost from the circumstances of his birth. And that was like it for the best part of 28 years, really. But because ultimately she managed to get her son on the throne, it's sort of like retrospectively people look back and go, oh, that must always have been what she wanted. And I think maybe because there's a bit of a dearth of like information available during that period, because medieval woman, so people can kind of go, oh well, we don't know what she was doing for 10 years, she must have been plotting. She
was bored, she was having a scheme.
I mean, whenever I take a week off, that is what I am doing. I'm not doing laundry. I am plotting like Pinky in the Brain, obviously.
Get Gabby on the throne.
Yeah. That is how you make a despot. That putting that boy on the throne. He is a tiny tyrant waiting to happen. Lauren, do you think Margaret is actually good? I mean, obviously she's not plotting from the start, but in the kind of scheme she does, is she a good schemer?
No. Not really. This is the thing, is like eventually, yes, absolutely, she's extremely good, but that takes a very long time. There's these, this is the other thing about the Wars of the Roses. It's such a mess. It's so backwards and forwards. It takes so long for any kind of consensus to actually occur. And I think we all presume like, oh, it was clear right from the start. It was red rose, white rose. That was it. You were one side or the other. And that's not the case at all, because everyone's related to each other. So like, of course, they're constantly moving around as to who they're in league with. And when we get to like the 1469 to 71, there's a king 1 minute and he's being deposed by his own advisors, and then the advisors leave, and then the king is, a mess for 2 years, absolute carnage. And during that time, Margaret actually quite repeatedly makes quite courageous decisions in who she allies with, and very forthright. She is trying to get ahead of what is happening in the kingdom, but she is quite often wrong. And it ends up with, by the time we get to the end of that period of total chaos, she has lost another husband. Very careless. And another of her husbands has died. Her various members of her family are also in disgrace, and she, crucially, has got on the wrong side of the now king, Edward IV, who just doesn't trust her anymore, because he's like, well, you plotted with my brother against me. Why am I going to help you? So she's in a really difficult situation. And what I find incredible about her is the way that she manages to take these moments of like complete like nadir, basically. She's at the absolute bottom of where she could be, and she manages to claw it back. And always, and this I think is partly why people get pissed off with her as a powerful woman, always she has a sense of her own worth and a sense that she should have a voice. And you see that time and again in like the very scant records we have at certain periods of her life. But she is always like, no, I realize I have no power at this point, but I'm still a countess. So actually, yes, you will have to pay quite a lot to marry me. And I think it's just something that has never sit well, you know, in narratives of women throughout history.
Do we know much about Margaret before she is married and, you know, at 12? Like, was that horrendous experience the formative one, or was she already sort of a bit like that, you know, in terms of knowing her own sort of voice and wanting to be heard?
From what we can tell, and it's a bit difficult with this because, you know, the Tudors come to power later and they're quite good at writing things down once they're in power, but it's sometimes a bit unclear whether they sort of like retrospectively...
Yeah. What do you want me to write about your mum?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, there was definitely a prophecy about how you'd become king. There definitely was. But it was interesting when you said, what do we know about her before she was married? And I was like, what, before she was 6? Because, of course, she gets married when she's 6 as well. She's just constantly being shoved off to different people. Yeah. I think the big thing that was really clear to me when I was working on this that maybe hadn't been there, I felt, in some of the other stories of Margaret, was how much her mother had the same sense of her own worth and that kind of fighting mentality that, like, I'm going to protect my family. I don't care if I have to use unscrupulous means. I don't care if I have to screw over other people. I'm going to look after my people. And like, it totally makes sense when you see how Margaret's mother interacts with other people and the way that she exercises power, that her daughter similarly has this sense of, yes, I come from important, powerful people. It's not just my, you know, her father was dead before she was 1, but he was a duke, and that's important in the Middle Ages. It's her mother who is constantly present until Margaret's nearly 40, who is like a really big influence on her.
Oh.
See, that's another thing. In fiction, when you see Margaret Beaufort with her mother, it's presented as a really pugnacious.
Yeah.
Margaret Beaufort has a mother from hell, like, who only favours the boys, and Margaret's just this, whatever she does, she's shit and wrong.
No, it's like total nonsense. Like, for a start, there are lots of children in Margaret's family, which again, we just forget. We think she's the only one, but she's got 3. No, hang on, maths. I can't do 1 plus 2. There's her family, of which she is the only child. Although her mother may have been pregnant when her father died, but we never hear any more of that. Then there's 1 younger brother from a later marriage, and there's, infinity 9,000 children from her mother's first marriage. And they are all around Margaret when she's growing up. They're all part of her identity, and she continues to have relationships with them, their children and grandchildren going forward. So, like, she's not this lone figure in the way that I think sometimes we imagine her. And we know that her mother protects Margaret, like, she keeps her with her, even though Margaret, like her son Henry, is a ward of court. She belongs legally to the king or to whoever he passes her on to. Margaret's mother keeps her with her even during that first marriage at 6-7 years old until she is 12. And I think it's like, obviously there's a lot to talk about with Margaret's pregnancy and the after effect of that, but I think it's hugely important that when Margaret gets a chance to say what she wants after having had her child, she chooses to go back to where her mother and her family live and to stay there. And again, I just don't feel like that's really been explored much before.
Yeah. Because you and I, Lauren, we've talked about confinement. You very kindly came and spoke to me about that experience when I was doing my series on childbirth and pregnancy. And she didn't get the natural way of things because she's at this distance. I mean, what might she? I mean, obviously, first of all, let's flag up the fact that we hear this chat about, oh, well, noble people in the past, they all got married at 11 and they were all having babies at just straight afterwards. What happens to her is an aberration.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not the normal run of things at all. You can legally get married as a girl when you're 12, 14 for a boy, but that's not when people normally have babies, because it's just stupid. Like, it's one of your major investments as a parent, an aristocratic parent especially, is buying a bride or groom for your child. Like, you definitely don't want your new bride, who is a huge heiress, to die in childbirth the first opportunity they have. And I think it's probably quite telling that the person she marries, Edmund Tudor, doesn't have a mother himself on the scene. He doesn't have a kind of a sister figure sort of maybe going, yeah, do you think maybe you should not impregnate the 12-year-old? And that Margaret is taken away from her own maternal line, like physically taken out of their power and moved off to Edmund's, Welsh territories. I think that's very significant. She doesn't have a female protector anymore.
And so you think when she gives birth, it's not the usual thing of having experienced your mother, your aunt, the people that you might expect to have with you. You think she's got servants who would have looked at her essentially as a mistress. So that birthing experience is just...
Yeah. I mean, it's really frustrating because we don't know exactly who is there. We don't know much of the circumstances, but it just seems very unlikely that her mother is there, given the situation, that this is like a, plague-ridden war zone.
Yeah.
Probably her mum wasn't able to come. And certainly her half-siblings probably weren't able to, her sisters.
Pembroke's, where she gives birth, is fairly remote. Like, even now, it takes a few hours by car on well-made roads. That's not somewhere very accessible.
No, I spent loads of time on Google Maps during this book, like just constant. How long would it take to walk? Oh, how long would that be? And then I was having to do maths, which I'm clearly not good at, to be like, well, if you were on a horse and you're doing so many miles a day, how long would that take? But it's like 300 miles from her mother. I don't think her mother was there.
No.
God, do we know anything else about her relationship with Edmund, apart from the fact that he was
a dickhead?
Yeah. Let's go with that. I was going to say another word beginning with N, but let's go with dickhead. Yes.
Not really.
Okay,
not much. We know that he is substantially older than her. We don't know exactly how old, but he's in his late 20s. She's 12. We know that the marriage is arranged when it's slightly before that, and sort of arranged by the king, Henry VI, who is Edmund Tudor's half brother. And it's very much like a political alliance. And then it's like a financial thing for Edmund, that he can get his hands on her money if he gets her pregnant, basically. But we don't really know much about him. We know some stuff about his brother Jasper Tudor, who hangs around for much longer, but he's in exile for years and years, so we don't know that much. And all that seems to crop up later on is that there are signs that Margaret respects Edmund as the father of her child. So, that slightly creepy medieval thing where people say, oh, I'd like my dead husband dug up and moved to where I'm going to be buried with my new husband. She says that in one of her wills.
What a weird menage a trois. Like,
there's so many of them. There's so many of these wills where it's like, well, if Margaret would like to come and live with not live, spend her afterlife. Yeah, he would like to come and be dead with me and my dead wife. Please move her over.
Lovely.
Yeah. But there isn't really much about it. And the only other thing was just this looking back thing and Margaret finding her voice. That there's a story told much, much later about how Margaret imagined the process of choosing Edmund to have gone, which is that she was given a choice, that she prayed overnight, she asked for guidance from God, she had a vision of Saint Nicholas, the patron saint of children, quite telling, I think, and that she from that felt that she should marry Edmund. Now my suspicion is that like that is a lot of trying to make sense of something deeply traumatic, that like she almost has to find a good thing to have come out of that trauma, otherwise it's just too much. And I don't know how she could have built a relationship with her son, to be honest.
But and also to give herself some sort of control in that situation, so that kind of feeling.
Yes.
How just unbelievable, really. So I mean, she's taken away from her family at 12 into a remote place. Wales is beautiful. This is not, but it's remote compared, you know, and she's not with anyone. And then she's with this guy who she hasn't really known.
Yeah.
And how long after they're married does she fall pregnant?
About a year, I think.
Oh God!
Hang on, let me just try and do.
That's even worse.
It's more maths. So Henry is born January 1457. So let's say March 1456. So actually less than a year.
So
a bit less.
Would your suspicion be that he was sleeping with her? Well, if we go with the theory that he wants to get her pregnant because, or maybe it's more than a theory, in order to get his hands on her money, that he's sleeping with her from the moment they marry.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, it's from the way she's described, the way you describe her, it sounds very much like it could even have been a case that he's sleeping with her before she has any of the signs of having gone through puberty. It does.
Yeah.
It may even have. It's entirely possible that Margaret Beaufort never had a period before she was pregnant, and she just got knocked up, like that he was just having sex with her until she ovulated for the first time ever.
Yeah, because I mean, it's obviously really difficult. We don't know exactly when people were having periods at this time, but it seems like 14 was a more common time to be starting than 12 was.
And she's small.
Yeah, she's described as being very slight by contemporaries who knew her.
It's a miracle that she survived.
It is, absolutely. And I think that, again, is sort of what you have to imagine her making of it. Is like, my interpretation is, first of all, she tries to ignore it, is that she essentially just tries to run away from this awful situation she's been in and just forget about it completely. And then I think when she is forced to kind of confront the reality of it, the reality of probably Henry being her only child, we don't know if she wanted to have more children or if she actively chose not to. It's not clear, but my suspicion is she might have wanted more. And then, so she has to make some sort of sense of the horror of that. And like, I mean, that's a positive way to do it, is to be like, well, I survived, it must be for a reason. This kid survived, that must be for a reason.
So do you think her piety comes into that? God's choice, God's plan for her?
Maybe. Or it's a bit tricky because I think maybe Margaret's piety sometimes gets over-egged. Like it is also a political
nun
choice.
portrait.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This actually looks like a nun in a portrait. Yeah, it doesn't help.
But she's not a nun.
Nice.
But she's not a nun. She's not taken orders. She's not shut herself away. What is she? She's not a nun.
She's a vowess. So essentially, a vowess doesn't have to do any of the rubbish things that nuns have to do. So they don't have to go and live by themselves. They don't have to remove themselves from men, i.e. from power. Let's be realistic. And they get to keep all of their money. So like that's why she does it. But she doesn't do that until 1499. So she's 55. Like,
but it takes her out of Stanley's control, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It means that she's essentially a femme soul, and he isn't controlling her stuff. It's a great con. And so Stanley's her third husband,
or fourth, depending. Yeah.
Oh, if you count the 6-year-old one, yeah. But Stafford, her second husband,
third,
or third, possibly third. That seems like, I mean, it was very much a marriage of practicalities, but one that from the way you present it, seems to have developed pretty quickly into one of genuine affection and trust. Margaret as wife, Margaret as stepmother, because she doesn't, obviously Henry's her only child, but she is responsible for other children. So where do we see from her there?
Well, the amazing thing is with Margaret, which we don't have with that many medieval women, is there's just all of these, please don't be too bored, household accounts. It sounds so dull.
No.
I swear, these are fascinating, because these are the things that, like, you know, all the questions that you get if you're doing anything about social history or you're dressed in a costume. People are like, but how do you go to the toilet? But how do you know, what are you wearing on? Are you wearing pants? You know, what are you eating? Those are the things we can find from the household accounts. So we know what she's eating. We know what, you know, that her and her third, husband Stafford, that, you know, they celebrate their anniversary. They have New Year's together, that he has a, you know, he sort of has a little sideline in gambling with his brother every now and then that she seems to wink at. That she has, who we know, therefore, who she's in contact with, because there'll be letters or messages or servants going backwards and forwards between people and presents. And we have a lot of that for her marriage to Stafford, which just gives a complete lie to the idea that he was this sort of, you know, crusty old dude who was forced on her as a husband later on. Like he seems to, for various political reasons, he's a good choice, but also he was a nice person. And I think probably she was like, let me just assess your personality for a moment. I'm 14, but I now have quite a lot of a sense of what a man might be like.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I think
you forget that she's 14 when she's choosing. Oh God, okay, yeah,
exactly. And I think they have a really quite beautiful, touching relationship, and it's like the absolute standard medieval relationship for that class in lots of ways. He's quite a lot older. He's a social inferior. She clearly, you know, has quite a lot of power in their home, and they work together like it's a partnership. And that is actually like way more of the normal way of things than the Edmund Tudor experience. And I feel like sometimes we kind of forget that. We forget, like you were saying, Kat, just how unusual the Edmund Tudor situation was.
Yeah.
The Edmund Tudor experience sounds like a
not anything anyone wants to experience. Yes.
But it's so strange to me how it's because whenever people say, they always talk about how young medieval people get married, it's always Margaret Beaufort they throw up, and I'm like, can you name somebody else for whom this happens, or is it just Margaret Beaufort? And do we know about it?
Yeah, is she the exception that proves the rule,
or is she or basically a crime? Is she a crime scene?
Yeah, like exactly that.
I mean, the way, and as you said, like, I think that you see traces of that trauma everywhere, because she is, I think you see it in her dedication to knowledge and learning. I think the way she promotes people, whether that's, you know, it gets people learning things, she gets books published. I think she wants to understand the world as a way of understanding what happens to her. But for me, all of these years later, when she is getting involved in Margaret Tudor's marriage to the King of Scots.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, how many years are we talking there? I'm going to ask you to do maths again.
She's in her 50s.
Right. So a woman in her 50s is still so knocked sick by what happened to her as a 12-year-old that she is essentially like, you cannot send her to Scotland because we can't trust him.
Yeah, and there's specific references to like how Margaret Tudor, the granddaughter, looks similar to Margaret Beaufort, that she's also slim, that she also seems younger than her age. And like, just think about that when we're discussing a 12-year-old, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the fact, like, it's just so tragic, a lot of it. Some of the things that, again, have been sort of twisted in the way that Margaret approaches things. This idea that she would cry at happy events, that she would always be saying, oh, I think, you know, something bad's going to come afterwards, which, again, very normal medieval attitude. Quite sensible, actually.
Yeah,
probably something awful was
there to support that. As
exactly. It was a very, very difficult time. But like that's the legacy of her literally having experienced these awful things, that she would be what's supposed to be the happiest thing, getting married, having a family, was awful for her, completely traumatizing and damaging psychologically, physically.
Yeah.
Now thinking about what her mother must have gone through, knowing that that's what happened to her daughter, how traumatic that would have been.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, like, she had tried so hard to protect her for 12 years, and then, you know,
yeah,
the
situation as well. You think, well, as her mother being a powerful, noble woman herself, could protect her, but actually, in that sort of situation, she almost has less power despite her status, and because your daughter now is married, she's with this man. You can't touch that.
So she's the king's brother.
Yeah.
He's the king's half brother. So even if she wants, it's not a marriage she made.
No.
Yes.
If it was a marriage she had made, she could be like, you aren't seeing this girl alone until I am happy that she is developed. If she'd made if she and her husband had made the marriage, but Henry VI, God love him, does as he's told. Henry VI is the man who can give away the same parcel of land to two different people days apart because he is just a yes man. I don't even think it's a case that he really considers what this might mean for Margaret. It's not him playing pander for his half brother.
He might not even know what sex is yet. Like,
exactly.
Like, you know, at the time he's organising this, he still might not have worked it out.
God, exactly.
Yeah, that actually infuriates me, though. This is, that someone. This is passive, weak people cause problems, and Henry VI just did cause problems. And the idea that a 12-year-old girl had to be subject to, a marriage that was consummated by a man in his late 20s because the king couldn't work out what, just think through anything. That makes me really mad, actually. That really pisses me off.
Yeah.
I think it's bad.
Yeah, Margaret is fucking let down by people who should have looked after her.
Yeah.
As is so often the case, actually, but she is really badly let down. However, and I think while that trauma undeniably, both physically and mentally, follows her through her life, let's also remember that she, like the phoenix from the ashes, makes the absolute best out of a bad lot. Do you think that her experiences, whether that is surviving the Wars of the Roses, whether that is her discovering at various times that you can't trust people that you think you can trust, when it comes to, I suppose, the denouement and the success of getting Henry on the throne, does it make Margaret bitter, untrustworthy, mercurial? Is that the sort of person that you... Because that's how she's presented. She's presented in fiction as somebody who trusts no one and is constantly sort of... She's the spider in the middle of the web, and she's the mother-in-law from hell. She's the grandmother from hell. She's like this control freak. Is that borne out with what you've seen?
No, I don't think so. I think she like, the biggest surprise to me was how much of her personal relationships you could get at, actually, and how much compassion and loyalty she showed to the people around her. I think she had coteries of people, and this is a person who's overseeing dozens of people at a time, maybe scores of people, and she has to trust them, because if she doesn't, stuff is just not going to be done in the way it needs to be. And I think, again, she's doing that from the time she's 12, potentially. She's going to be really good at it by the time she's 60 something. And the one thing that she seems to do is around the time of Henry VII's death and the accession of the teenage Henry VIII. And let's remind ourselves, there has not been a teenage, never mind adult son acceding his father for 100 years at this point. No one's got any idea how that even works anymore. The one thing she does is try and sort of keep in with everyone, so that regardless of who takes power, she can protect her family. And that can be seen as, a bit Machiavellian, but it also is just like common sense. She is trying not to alienate people. She's trying not to do exactly what had happened in 1483 with the Woodvilles and with Edward IV. She's trying not to have one big faction over here, another one over there, and someone, murders the king. So it's like, it's just common sense. It's also like, it's a really female way of doing things. And again, that's sort of seen as negative.
So I have a couple of questions about her relationships with different people. So first of all, Jasper Tudor. So we tend to see her relationship with Jasper viewed quite romantically. And I think a lot of us.
I like this as romance, by the way.
Most of us a little bit of a history man crush on Jasper Tudor, on and off, even though we don't really know anything about him. But bearing in mind, so what do we know about that relationship? Because if you bear in mind her experience with his brother, it was not a fun time.
No.
And obviously he is caring for her son, and that's going to be like the crucial thing for her, I'm sure. However she may have felt about Jasper in her early years of knowing him, she couldn't thank him enough for what he did for Henry. So what do we know about their relationship?
I think she was probably quite annoyed by him, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Well, let's just consider for a moment. So he takes control of her child legally. He's the the guardian with Henry's wardship when Henry's like less than a year old. And then he proceeds to just keep besieging places. Like, he's resisting Edward IV, he's resisting the Yorkists, he's going off and fighting in one place, he's going over to France and doing something there, he's plotting with people that, like, constantly endangering Henry's life, to be honest. Like, Henry is left, from memory, Henry is just sort of left at Pembroke Castle by himself at one point, and the Yorkists come and take it and take him. Like, that would not have happened if Jasper Tudor had just done what Margaret...
Not been a dickhead as well.
Yeah, exactly. If he had just, like, been sensible, as Margaret and her family are, and been like, you know what, probably the Yorkists have won. Let's go over to them. So I think, actually, he was a problem, in the same way that quite a lot of her Beaufort relatives were a problem, because they just kept resisting the Yorkists, and that put her in a really difficult situation. I think you're right that later, he was the person who had stood by her son for the longest time, but I just don't think they had that much of a relationship. I think we tend to assume that because she went to his castle to give birth, that there was some deeper relationship. I don't actually think there is. I think it's just literally, she was, at the time she was going to give birth and that Edmund died, she was staying in a bishop's palace, and she was like, this isn't safe, I need to go somewhere else. Oh, Pembroke Castle's just down the road, like literally within a day's travel. So a safe place to, just hole up basically against the world if need be, and against the plague, which was a very real fear for her. When she goes with Jasper to arrange her next marriage, I think it's very much like Jasper is probably there to look out for his interests rather than anyone else's. So yeah, I don't have, and it's weird, isn't it? Like, you just get these sort of general dislikes or likes for people. I don't have a massive liking for Jasper, strangely. I don't see much there that is the kind of kindness or charisma that I feel Henry Tudor and Margaret Beaufort have. There's something a bit cold about Jasper Tudor to me, and his relationship, like when he eventually gets married, doesn't seem to be a happy one. His wife, like, illegally remarries the moment she can. She's not even mentioned in his will particularly, because they just obviously don't get on. Again, a woman who's had a really shit time because of the men in her life. So yeah, I don't at all, like, categorically, I don't think there was a romantic element to their relationship.
So maybe he moved from insufferable to barely sufferable.
Yeah.
I mean, the other one on the way with in-laws, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't really have to see mine, which makes them the best sort. And the other relationship is, of course, with Stanley. Now, we talked about this a few weeks ago. We talked about history myths, and I said about the myth that nobody knew what the Stanleys were going to do at Bosworth, and how actually the evidence doesn't really support that. And I could go, well, you know, Stanley had to stand for Henry because he was his stepson. Well, nobody really had to do anything back then. You can see how easily, like, somebody would have literally, as well as metaphorically, stabbed somebody in the back. But again, that we see that as a fairly respectable marriage between them. There was some level of respect between them as a couple, as two individuals that had come into this marriage both with a reasonable amount of baggage. Let's be honest about it. But, you know, was there ever any, you know, having been a Yorkist previously, both Stanleys having been Yorkists, what did Margaret know that he was going to stand for Henry at Bosworth? And if he hadn't have done, would she have kicked the living crap out of him afterwards? You know,
I love their relationship. I genuinely just want to write fan fiction about the Stanleys because I find them so fascinating. And Thomas Stanley in particular, like so like infamously, he is the one who doesn't fight. He just sort of like turns up just slightly too late. Guys, I overslept again. I did it again. I did it at Towton. I did it at St Albans. I did it Blore Heath. Oh, so embarrassing. But because he's got this giant army in the northwest, you know, he just gets away with it. But like the thing in the Stanleys that's so sort of tantalizing, I think, is he does that. And his brother does the exact opposite. His brother's just like, pow, 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 fight everyone all the time. Always Yorkist, through and through.
Like Scrappy Doo.
Yeah, exactly. Little Sir William Stanley Scrappy. Yeah. And then of course they also have, as everyone does at this time, 9 million cousins and brothers and sisters and nephews and nieces, and like all of this network of other people to whom, of course, as soon as Margaret gets married, she is also connected and she builds relationships with them, which like I think tends to get forgotten. She's a stepmother for 10 years to this family. She's a really important figure to them. And it's similar to the Jasper Tudor situation, but kind of in reverse. I think maybe Margaret found Thomas Stanley sufferable, and then he got more and more insufferable as his power increased, basically.
He started fucking her off more and more.
Yeah, exactly. That she went into it very, yeah.
You got like you keep your wife in check. You make sure she's done what you tell her to do. And I can imagine how that went. Slightly not his fault, I suppose. He was being, but you can imagine her just going, oh, absolutely not.
But like literally, she draws up legal documents when they're getting married that are defining, like, you can do this, you can't do that. These are my lands, they are not yours. And then there's this,
we could all learn from Margaret.
Like, so good at law. Just brilliant. All the contracts all the time. And then like in 1482, when Margaret's trying to get her son back from exile, she's trying to make deals with Edward IV. There's this really funny little phrasing in one of the contracts that she makes with Edward, where it's like essentially saying Thomas Stanley needs to abide by this as well, as he has promised in the past and has not done so. It's something like that. Like, it's a very 15th century legalese, but essentially it's saying, you have promised this before and you lied. Like, just this time, the king is saying it, you have to do it. You've ignored me, you have to do it. And that suggests to me that, yeah, by that point, she's getting quite annoyed. And then within 2 years, she's basically his prisoner. So I think probably it was not the best. But what's fascinating is that they stay in each other's lives for the whole of the rest of his life. Even when she's a vowess, even when she's a femme sole, even when she's independent, she is still in touch with him. She's still constantly in touch with his family. When Arthur, her grandson, dies, one of the first people who arrives is a messenger from Thomas Stanley. So, like, they still clearly have, like, something there. And you just wonder, you wonder what it was, whether it was, if it could ever have been a sexual relationship, if it was always just a sort of, like, uneasy affection. I don't know. My suspicion is sexual. In my fan fiction, it would be.
Speaking of that were insufferable, at what point do you think she looked at Richard III and went, I'm fucking done with you? That's it.
Yeah.
I think probably when she thought he'd murdered his nephews. I think that was the moment. Yeah. exactly. I
Fair.
think, yeah.
Mm.
And I think she really did believe that. I don't, I won't go into what I think right now, but I think she thought that they were dead. And I think quite a lot of other people thought that too.
Mm-hmm.
And she thought, you can't do that. Also, of course, it was in her interests that Richard was not there, because she would far have preferred Edward V, the Prince in the Tower, to be in control, to be in power. But also, I just think she was like, this is not a person I can do business with.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a reasonable human.
Yeah, that's the line. That's the line. Yeah.
Mm.
And I mean, he is also sending people to try and kill her son.
Yeah, and I think that probably annoyed her.
Yeah.
It would annoy me, even 700 years down the line. I don't feel that that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
I know I keep bringing it back to fiction, but I want a couple of things, because we're getting into the reign of Henry and then afterwards. The way that another relationships with her are presented, in particular with Elizabeth of York, and then with the marriage of Henry to Catherine of Aragon. Is she just a terrible bitch to her daughter-in-law? And is she also just completely against Henry marrying Catherine? Is she doing these machinations? Does she kill Empson and Dudley? Is it all her? She's
just going around murdering. She is the serial killer of the early modern world. No. It's so tiresome. Like, yeah, I am literally exhausted of just explaining. People can get on with each other. Like, it just annoys me so profoundly that, like, there is this misogynist strain that was there in the 1490s or whatever, that someone went over to the court and went, oh, I don't know if they get on. Didn't actually even see Margaret and Elizabeth, just sort of heard that maybe they didn't like each other and wrote it down. That's like one source. That someone else 200 years later said, oh, there's all these household ordinances, all these rules have been written about the Tudor court. I bet Margaret Beaufort wrote them. I'll just put that on there, that's fact now.
Is she not the book? Is she not the author of the book then?
No, so she does not write the household ordinances. What she does write... what she does write,
my whole life is a lie.
She writes mourning ordinances. So after Elizabeth of York is dead, she writes what people should be wearing at court after the death of a queen or a prince.
And because at that point, she's the senior woman.
Yeah, exactly.
She's the queen is dead. Yeah.
So writing down what she's passing on verbally, but deciding to get it down in
well, like Henry VII is obsessed with writing things down, so I think it's that. And by this point as well, Margaret, I feel like, is starting to kind of keep a little archive of her own where she puts all this stuff in. So I think it's part of that impulse that she has, just to get things written. But we know she writes it because she says in the title that she wrote it, and then we have an account that specifically says it was delivered to her. Like, none of that is there for the other household ordinances. None of it is there for how a queen gives birth, how a king and queen should get married, or have sex with each other. Like, all of that stuff, some of it goes back to Henry VI's time. A lot of it is there under the Yorkists, and they're the ones who are writing this down. And Margaret is not this sort of witch creature. Just, I don't know, in my head what I imagine is like someone just knitting, being like, no, you cannot have a window open, Elizabeth, you must give birth in darkness. It's just absurd.
I suffered, so you must too.
Yes. Have I told you about when I was 12 and I gave birth in a castle in Wales? Let me tell you again. Yes, you have to listen. It's just God. Yeah, and I think I genuinely
why something. I don't even know.
We've all just been lied to. We've been lied to because of stupid Thomas Hearne writing on this ordinance. Wow. And I just think Elizabeth of York was a daughter to Margaret. That's how I see it. Margaret has that relationship with her living mother-in-law, the only one that she had. Like, they are extremely close. She has that relationship with older women, with younger women. She protects them. She looks after them. She welcomes them into her home. If people are fleeing marriages, she helps them out. Like, there is so much to her that is compassionate to women and to people who have slightly questionable sex lives around her. And like, it just does not fit at all, this dragon lady notion that she wouldn't have understood that the Queen of fucking England was more important than her. Like, it's just stupid.
Love that.
Yeah. Because back to this sort of nun-looking portrait, which of course is a very famous one of her, which is skewed then by the sounds of it, our perception of her. But she's quite fun-loving, isn't she? Am I not right in thinking she's like quite into playing cards, and she's, you know, she's got quite a fun household going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's all medieval standards of fun, obviously. So it's it's a bit
lying.
But yeah, it's drinking, it's dancing, it's having a lovely choir, it's having a team of players or actors, it's having lords of misrule, it's having fools who live within her house, it's giving presents to people a lot of the time, it's having merry tales at dinner. You know, there's loads of stuff like that where she just seems to be clever and witty and I suspect a bit wry and maybe a bit sarcastic sometimes, and just funny.
And isn't she sort of the only, maybe this is an exaggeration, but like only person who manages to actually spend within their budget at this point? She's like,
her and Henry VII probably, yeah.
But he just sends Dudley and what's his face out to extort it out of people when he's a bit short, doesn't he? But I thought she doesn't ever get into debt, but then maybe that is just because she can tap up her son for.
No, I think like she is in her own right. I mean, he does give her a lot of land as well. But even before that, yeah, she's very cautious. I think there's probably a lot of people, and especially women, who are quite careful at this time. It's just we may not have all of the records for them. But like her mother-in-law, the Duchess of Buckingham, also similarly very careful, very, you know, stringent.
The books, aren't they? They are the ones in charge of the household. We've talked about this before, haven't we? You know, we're in a time where women don't have any responsibility. They have all the responsibility for the house. And
and they'll get all the blame. And that's the thing, they'll get all the blame, because let's be very clear. If a man overspends on luxuries and he has a wife, she's getting the blame as somebody who is uncontrolled. She likes her shiny things. She's a magpie. I have seen 2 questions coming in from Brian, and these are also connected to the reputation. The relationship between Margaret Beaufort and Elizabeth Woodville, does she look down on her because of her lower birth? Does she essentially set up a position where is Elizabeth Woodville, does she find court untenable because of Margaret shenanigans?
There's no evidence that Margaret looks down on Elizabeth because of her birth, unlike, for instance, Richard III, who has a difficult relationship with Elizabeth, and the Duke of Clarence, who has a different relationship with Elizabeth. I don't think there's any evidence for Margaret having any opinion on Elizabeth about that at all. The one thing that is mentioned is that in Polydore Virgil, everyone's favourite Polydore, there is an allusion to how Margaret and Henry are both angered by Elizabeth trying to go over to Richard III, having promised that they would help the rebellion, that she then changes her mind. And actually, like, I can completely understand why Elizabeth does it, but that's linked with them, that they're both angry about it. So I think it's possible that is there. I think actually, though, again, Elizabeth of York has not been considered in this. I think Elizabeth of York knows how toxic her mother is politically, and I suspect that she is trying to like insulate herself from her mother, and I think that's part of it.
I love your description of her relationship with Richard III as difficult.
Yeah, he may have killed some of my children. He definitely killed one of them.
Yeah.
Who could say?
Plus my brother, plus some other people.
Yeah.
What is she like as a grandmother?
Oh, she's lovely. You know, she's giving horses, giving bagpipes. You know, it's the classic.
Oh my God! So from me thinking she might not have been the mother-in-law from hell. This bitch is giving your kids bagpipes.
Actually, to be fair,
this is like the asshole that gives your kid drum kits.
Drums, yeah.
What?
It's like that.
Bath crayons.
Oh, I see. I quite like bath crayons.
Really? You
Yeah.
can't get them off the bath.
No,
Anyway.
you can't. That's true.
Nice.
I live with yellow all the time. What was I saying? Oh God, it's gone.
Mother-in-law giving out bagpipes and ponies.
Bagpipers. She gives a bagpiper.
That's not better.
Scotland. You know, it's the Queen of Scotland. She's trying to be inclusive.
And ponies as well. So she's just like, she is like the Disney Nana then.
Yeah, exactly. She's lovely.
Okay, what a combination.
Wow.
It makes me sad how the last like year and a bit of her life. Well, no, it's the last few years, really, isn't it? Just she worked so hard, and she must have thought, cracked it. You know, son's on the throne, he's married, we've got an heir, a spare, 2 girls to marry off for alliances, and then it just makes me so sad for her when it all unravels with Arthur, then Elizabeth, and then outliving your own son must be
horrible.
Just one of the worst things. And then do you feel like she held on in some way to see Henry VIII crowned, because she dies so soon after his she doesn't even leave Westminster, does she?
Yeah, she's like the worst party guest, isn't she? She's like, I'm not going home.
I'll be here.
You'll have to take me out in a coffin. It's 5 days after his coronation she dies. Yes, I think exactly that. And I think she's because again the accounts for her show that she's ill like quite regularly by this point. There's lots of payments for medicines and things repeatedly throughout the years. And when she moves in with Henry VII when he's dying, I think she's very much like, I have to have some comforts around me because I physically can't like tend to this sick bed and not have my own bed. And she's like in her late 60s by that point. I did the audiobook recording for this book, and I genuinely, there's a lot in it to do with motherhood and relationships and children and stuff that's triggering. But particularly reading Henry VII's death, it's just the pain that he went through and what she must have had to witness, I found heartbreaking. So I'm glad that she was able to see her grandson on the throne, but I think it was probably also it must have hurt that part of what her grandson does is like, hey, my dad was awful. Look at me, aren't I great? That's a big part of Henry VIII taking power.
And then for her to get in the TV show, for her to get blamed for the executions of Empson and Dudley, for her to get blamed for that is,
a year after she died,
it's wild work. It is wild work. And also that she's horrible to Catherine of Aragon in the fiction as well. Yeah,
that makes no sense to me whatsoever. I'm just so angry. I'm just so angry I don't even have the energy anymore. I'm just like,
you're still
for you.
It again.
Yeah. It's just that it's like the state of the world currently, the erosion of feminism and civil rights. You just like
have a little nap.
It's too much. Yeah.
Too much.
But we have the joy of your lovely book to tide us over and to give us some respite from the horrors that are all around. Where and when and what and how can they consume your media, Lauren?
And whom?
Consume
and why?
Hardback. When's it happening?
The hardback's happening November the 6th. Pre-orders are already out. Philippa has one. I still don't, and I'm really jealous.
Beautiful.
See the fact that Philippa's already got hers. It's a bit.
You beat Lauren to it. Now, America. What's happening
America, the American hardback, which I think has the same cover actually, because it's so beautiful. It's out 3rd of March next year, and then paperback will be out in a year's time, basically 12th November 2026.
And audio that you recorded with your own dulcet tones?
Yes, I have. I keep meaning to check. I haven't. It's out there somewhere.
It's
probably available now. I could Google.
Do you know what? Look where you get your audiobooks. They'll be either pre-orders or it'll be out.
I am actually just looking. It is available. Oh no, I'm lying. It will be released on November the 6th.
So
same as the book.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Now, Lauren, where can our friends find you? Because you are speaking places as well as being on the social media. So where can you be seen, heard, poked, reached, etc.?
Don't poke me. Don't poke me.
No,
that
sort of thing, Kat.
No, I'm not.
Stop telling people to poke me. At history_Lauren for Instagram, and tomorrow I am giving away a book. Not that I have it yet, but I'm giving away a book if you can guess where the book is. If you wish to join me there.
Fun.
And no one knows. It is a mystery.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know where it is.
It's your book, isn't it? That's what you.
The one I've ordered
somewhere. Yeah.
And historylauren.co.uk has my events on it. I will be in Wrexham on the 11th, St Albans on the 12th, and I think the other events are sold out. Excitingly.
Well done. Good.
Fabulous. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Now, thank you guys.
Thank you. It was
really
fun.
We have kept you for over an hour.
I was going to say everyone loves Margaret Beaufort. There are a small group of people that don't, but they're wrong.
They're wrong.
They are wrong.
We love her. So there we go.
My favourite medieval lady. Philippa, what's happening next week? Time series things. Next time. What's happening?
We are actually back next week because we are. That's just the way we roll.
We're back next week because we are.
We are. I said so, as my mother always invoked.
Yeah.
It is a new series. The new series, Influential Immigrants, where we're looking at people who've had an impact on British history, but we're not born here. And we're kicking off. I'm going through the story of Hans Holbein the Younger. That's an important part. Yes, so that's what we're here. We're back next week with Hans Holbein.
Fabulous.
Of Six fame.
House of Holbein.
Katrina, can you please tell us?
Don't full name me at any time. That's
why I do it, because it always gets that response.
I will punch you in the tits next time I see you. Keep full naming me, right?
I might like that.
I know you do. That's why I'll do it anyway. If you have enjoyed what you've seen here, you can like, subscribe, share the channel and the video. Make sure you comment. Lots of interaction. It helps to boost it in the algorithm, and then that makes people see it more. You can also tell us that you liked this content with money. So if you head over to our Buy Me a Coffee, which is going to be scrolling on the stream now, it's www.buymeacoffee.com/podcast. You can buy Winnebagos. You can also join our close friends on Instagram. You will know you're a close friend because the little circle of History After Dark on Instagram at the top, it's got a green light around it. You're a close friend. And it also means that Catherine has found something depraved to put up for you to enjoy. It will either be about history or beavers or historical beavers. This
week our group chat was ass gnomes.
Yes, to be fair, this week I did send the ladies a picture of a packaged up butt gnome. I was responsible.
We have to finish having our discussion about the arse gnomes. Actually,
we'll get round to the arse gnomes again. So that's what you can see. High quality content like that. You may also follow us over on our Substack. That is History After Dark Hub.substack.com. There you can find out what we're up to. You can also follow this as a podcast. If you're listening to this as a podcast rather than watching it as a video with your eyeballs, then what you can please do is give us a 5-star and a lovely review. If you don't think it's worth 5 stars, enough of you. Take it somewhere else.
Jog on.
Yes, find another place to sprinkle your bile. There we go. You can also find out about our merch. We have many merch. we have 3 versions of conflict resolution
We
kit.
haven't
I have
managed to
Norman.
wear all 3 yet.
You've
have
got Norman, I've got Iceni, we've also got Roman. You've got History of Start merch, Timmy is a Problem merch, No Fit for Free on the internet, War Boner, Roth Beaver, and there's more to come. So there we go. Please also look in the little description box. You will see our personal social medias. Follow us over there. Also, I think that might be everything.
Yeah. Well, just to say thank you to everyone who watches us on YouTube, because we have now hit 250,000 views on YouTube. So thank you ever so much.
Wow, that's so cool.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you whether you're watching us live or if you're watching us on the playback. Thank you so much for spending this time. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your interactions. That's so cool.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, we're all smiling now.
Yay! Right.
Please subscribe. Do you remember? I came across this a little while ago. Some people think to subscribe means that there is a payment to subscribe, because normally if you subscribe, it's not. If you want to subscribe on YouTube, you just hit the subscribe button. We're not putting out 3 million videos a week, so you're not going to constantly get notifications. Just when we're coming, and you
will
want to subscribe, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, there you are. There you go.
Also, on tomorrow, I will put up the playlist from this series from Spotify.
That lovely. You enjoy the music of the promotions. I also just want to say another massive thank you to Lauren for taking this time
so much, Lauren,
and for sharing all of your amazing finds about the wonderful Margaret Beaufort. And hopefully,
about this.
Yes. And
good luck in your book.
And looking forward to the next time that we can drag you back on into our cradle of filth.
Yes, me too. Thank you. And I will just end by telling everyone to buy my book. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, get your pre-order in, because it helps you in the rankings, I do believe.
Well, I've literally just pre-ordered the audio book. I've literally just
and it will drop in. It will drop on your mat. Delightful. Right, friends. Be good. And if you can't be good, be careful. And if you can't be careful, for the love of all that is holy, don't get caught. We're going to leave in 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Bye.